And
It's true.
I've heard stupider ideas. Some of them are today.
Hey.
the fact that you insulted by that and blessed you didn't think your idea was that good in the first.
You never gave me
Okay.
ideas today anyway, Leah.
Oh wait, Bob, you weren't here for my discovery.
No.
So I discovered how to. Well, actually, maybe. I don't know if I should say this while Cat is streaming.
Not like a watch CAD. They totally
Yeah.
do.
I'll message you, Bob.
They're in his stream.
I did once. I replicated it once. It is just it's inconsistent. It's super inconsistent, but it's possible. But it is possible. It is a thing that can happen in the game. Yes.
Yeah. You can also def proc the enemy.
Yes, actually, that is 100% more consistent. Look up.
What was the rate I was doing? Show. I think I got like def procs over 1,000 runs.
No, I didn't. My life today was miserable.
You are in
So-
good company.
It is going to be much worse. I get to meet with the federal government.
Hey, that's me. Show up.
I mean, unlikely because you would probably already be down here.
Federal man. Showing up on the Air Force 2. The VPs.
Yeah, the people I'm meeting with probably flew commercial.
Yeah, they were business class.
It's
Business class / first class for translate. Like an extra $700, but
you get food?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is
for-
worth it.
for
$700
transatlantic
for a
flights,
meal?
you always. But it's basically because you're on. I'm on it for 8 hours. I think. Extra leg. Not having the chance of having a. Not as. It is a very much degree. The amount of flights I've been on with kids being in the business class area, I think maybe have a kicking.
Well, sometimes you.
Hello, everyone. Sorry about this. Sorry, I'm running behind a little bit. I got started, then realized I need to do something, then came back, then realized I needed to switch over the capture card, then got stuck talking there, and then realized I needed to post my go live tweet, which is now done. So go give the tweet some love. I have got some stuff to talk to you guys about today. So apologies for not getting to Alice's kit again in this morning. I hate that, like, of the past, like, 3 new servants, they have all fallen on a day that specifically that day I was very busy. in the case today, like I literally had to like go get lab work done for my doctor's appointment next week, which didn't take very long. By the time I got back and actually got situated and got to sit down and look over her kit, like I would have been making, excuse me, I would have been making the post much later towards lunchtime. So I just said like, I'll just wait. We'll do it on stream. Dad needs true magic to multitask. You know, at this point, I kind of do. Okay, I'm gonna take it easy this week. Lasungo release Constantine. Yeah, let me get some negativity out of the way here so that we don't have to say it the rest of the term. Fuck NA. Like, holy hell, come on, guys. Why are we tripling up on a download campaign, a collab event, and literally a pre-campaign? There is no reason for this. Schedule your shit better. This is some Bush League stuff. God damn. Like, I'm sorry, that like it's beginning to piss me off, right? And the reason it's beginning to piss me off is because they can do better and they're doing it on purpose. They're actually doing it purely for the sake of trying to mess with your ability to actually get some of the stuff done. Oh, did you want time to roll out your FP? No. Oh, did you want time to catch up on story because it's half cost, right? No. Did you want time to do your interludes and strengthenings because they're half cost? No. Like, that's what they keep kind of pulling on us. They keep trying to smush stuff together, even when it wasn't on JP. And in this case, you know, we did obviously have the download campaign that did overlap with the event on JP, but it was supposed to overlap with the third week once everybody was kind of set in their ways and relatively done, rather than coming out literally, you know, before the first week really even ended and already kind of like being done and over with. So that's my only complaint here, is that NA can absolutely do better, and they absolutely need to do better. It just strikes me as this like tchotchke method for trying to mess with our clairvoyance that literally serves only to aggravate and frustrate the player base. We're gonna have a dead month at this rate? Yeah, I have some theories. We'll talk about that here in a second. Do you think they're trying to catch up to JP? No. No, I think the speed up would be a lot more drastic if that were the case. Anyways, like I said, I got the Go Live tweet. Let me grab for you guys today's artwork. Is a good one. Yeah, I wanted to get that one off my chest because I had that discussion with Avalon the other day, and I was just like, I'm just getting tired of them doing that. There's no reason. They have clairvoyance. They should be using it for good, not for evil. They can straight up allow us to actually like have better pacing because of it. Okay, hello everybody. How's it going? Let me get you guys today's artwork. Here it is. Go give the artist some love. I don't know why that didn't post. That was weird. And hello to YouTube. We did do the Konosuba Season 2 marathon yesterday. It was great. I come out of watching those first two seasons having not remembered a lot of things from it, and like gaining even more appreciation for just how good that show is. Konosuba might be one of my favorite like animes of all time. It is just very well written. The characters are all enjoyable and make you laugh, and the story and world actually have depth to them that honestly most other comedies, and let alone other shows in general, just actually lack. So it is always refreshing to get something like that. Do you think we get a summer rerun that JP didn't get? No. It was a while ago when they aired. Yeah. Season 3 coming soon? Season 3 is already out. Like, it's not fully done, but I think episode 4 was today. We watched it at lunch, so. Highly recommend Konosuba if you guys haven't started. Obviously, yes, we got the Constantine download campaign today. We also had monthly reset, so you guys can grail cash. You can buy new stuff from the Mana Prism shop, you name it. So definitely don't skimp on that. Is Cad Red angry? No, why? I was just saying that I was frustrated with NA scheduling because it's just a like stupid way to inhibit the player base and stop them from being as efficient. And I'm sure they're gonna say like, oh, like NA is too efficient because of its clairvoyance, but like I feel like it's generally a better idea if you're a developer to encourage your players to enjoy the game rather than the reverse. I'd stop myself from using all of my Marianning coins and grail casting instead of spreading it out. I just went ahead and chucked them all in, but I don't have that many yet, so 63 months indeed. Thank you, Darty. Hope you're having a good day. Also, Darty, where the heck you been? I was just saying we had a bunch of people in VIP earlier, and it was nice to have a lot of people in there, and we were just talking shop about things because I had Avalon come in and talk to me a little bit about Alice because I didn't have that much time to actually study her again today, and that was kind of my issue. My dad is going out of the country on vacation here tomorrow, and so like the office is kind of like in a panic mode trying to get things done. And I hate to say this because I love my father, but I'm actually like at the point of being like, please go, because like these people are psychopaths. I'm just like, I want it to like get back to a point where it's like, all right, it's normal, it's calm, we can do this. There's never an argument to max MLB a second cranking. I mean, cranking is the best like 50% buster C in the game, so yeah, you can obviously like do that. You don't need to farm for that, but if you get a second one enough to be able to MLB, I don't think there's any problem with it. I think MLBing it at that point is actually really good for you because this event will probably never rerun, so I don't think you got to worry too much about it. I'm the captain now. No, I like to a large degree I don't want to be the captain now, but like it's also just nice to actually have like nice to just have things calm down because a lot of people go into like hibernation mode when my dad isn't there because like, oh well, we can't do things now, and I'm like, yes, leave me alone, go. Whereas like when my dad's there, they're trying to get a bunch of shit done and they're constantly like pestering me for stuff. Who's that in the pic? That's Aurelia as well, if you're talking about the intro screen. Yeah, that right there in the middle, that's Aurelia. This is just the Yakuza themed artwork that I had done. If I get extra copy 4, I might farm for the second MLB. You can. I'm just gonna say it's like not the biggest of deals. I think I still need 2 more drops. I don't know. I haven't gotten a drop in a hot second, so. In the same vein as the welfare units, do you think they'll ever make welfare Cs permanently available? They have in some cases. Hello, Ern. Are we gonna watch Konosuba the movie next or OVA? I don't know. Like, I will say this. I'm down to watch, but we also didn't get that many people to show up last night. So, like, a ton of people voted for Konosuba and a ton of people didn't show up. And I'm like, I like doing the stuff with you guys. I like doing the watch parties, but if people aren't going to show up to them, there's not really much point of putting them on. So, at the end of the day, I don't really know what to do about it. Like, I'll probably ask you guys if and put it to a vote again. But if we don't get enough participation, then I may be done doing it after this next time. So, at least for a while until we get something else that people really want to watch. Sorry, left earlier is not feeling well. No, that's fine. Like, look, yeah, you don't have to feel bad about like leaving or something like that if you're there because at least you showed up, right? Like, there's tons of people that don't show up that will still like vote for that to be the thing that gets watched or something like that. Which, I mean, I don't really know of any way to like restrict that, but I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of people like voting for you to play a game on stream and then people also don't show up to watch that. So it's like you feel kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But have some amazing news. Oh, what's up? You finally have Castoria. Nice, congrats, Zaruku. I hope you enjoy her. She's a fantastic unit. For watching on my own, no offense. No, it's fine. I don't really like, we don't really talk during it. I did chime in a couple times with things that I thought were funny, but like very rare that I even say anything during the watch marathons. Like I waited for so long. Yep. You could actually farm with Hokusai. Yeah, that is a thing. Yeah, did you see Penguin Alice? Yes, I saw Penguin Alice. We finally have a true penguin in the game. None of these weird leviathans and just kidding. I wasted 30 quartz to not get the last Honey Lake. Yeah, I mean that happens. It's just what, one copy? Well, like, was it the last copy to MLB? Or was it like a singular copy? The MLB, okay. Well, at least you still have it. Having it is like literally like 90% of the battle, but technically that attack up that you can get from MLB, it's worth a lot more than people realize, but it's just one of those things where it's like the actual effectiveness of the CE is still largely going to be determined by that. I didn't know that Bunyan bonus from doing the node can give you 4-star experience. See? Yep. You rolled for Summer Kira, I see. It should have another banner from time to time. It usually does, but I haven't like done it. Can anyone else hear a slight popping when Cad talks? I don't know, but my mic was not all the way up, so it might be a thing. In your right ear? Well, that I have no idea then. How long were the gold and above the gold above the box a thing? I was aware of a rainbow. Oh, you're talking about I don't remember. It was whenever they started putting like 4-star Cs that could drop. It might have been one of the original like Gouda events that had it, but I don't really remember since then. Or no, it might have been Fate Zero, was it? It's been a thing for a long time, but I'm trying to remember like since when was the first time. Bonus can give cranking too if really lucky. Yeah, I did get one from that. Mixing dailies with QP runs. Yep. No, Chad, I've actually had a very productive day. I got to contact a lot of the people that I had needed to contact. There's still even more I need to contact, so it is what it is. But I'm trying to like keep my eye on certain channels because I'm expecting DMs. But like I am hoping like this weekend that I just get to chill, relax, and like decompress. And so that's going to be the hope. And then perhaps after that, that will be enough. I hate that I'm not at full capacity still. I hate that because all I want to do is to go. I want to hit the ground running and I want to keep doing more. And like the problem is I know how mentally exhausted I am when I sit there at like work and I'm like, all right, you got done the thing you needed to get done at work. And it's like, all right, let me do something for myself here. And then like my brain just goes, because it's something I don't have to do. So my brain just literally just like is like, I just did my 4-star ticket and grabbed the first copy of U Assassin. Yeah, we don't have very much longer to exchange for that, right, chat? So like, make sure you guys do your 4-star ticket. Azrael, they give her the 10 months. And Bodegon, they give her the 53. I'm sorry I didn't recognize that somehow. And Fletcher, thank you for the 6 earlier. Torak, thank you for the 47 earlier. Thank you to the 1 follow I had while offline. Damn, Chad, if only you could see my follower count. You probably can if you look below the stream. I don't know who to pick. Well, like, who are you trying to decide between? I am more than happy to like answer whatever questions I can. Like, I'm not going to do a whole stream of this, but if you guys have a question and you're still on the fence, I can try to help you make up your mind. I just went Salter to finally get her. Yeah. I bit the C or the servant. To be fair, my C pick was a fucking meme and I loved it. Salter or Lalter? So I had the same deliberation, Kaio. I guess it really depends on your willingness to roll. Do you want to roll for either of them? Because I think that's the biggest thing. Alter Luna, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome to the stream. Next time notice from 2100 2300 JST. What time is that Eastern time? Does anyone know? No, I just like them. So if you don't want to have to roll, then it's a toss-up, okay? Because it really just depends on who you want. There's certainly a lot to be said about the actual gameplay strength of Salter at the current moment. And NA will get that next year. But I mean, like, if you just like Lalter more, Lalter's not a weak unit by any means either, right? So I would maybe consider, either A, just picking the one that your heart desires, or B, asking yourself if you need one of them more for gameplay reasons. But if you were going to roll, then that, at least, like, I could advise you on that. But when you're not willing to roll, then it becomes more difficult, right? Because I can't say, like, oh, well, you could wait until this banner to grab this one or something like that. Jack Lalter banner is tempting. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I did bring that up. You guys pointed it out to me, and I went like, hold on, I actually don't have Jack. So that's probably going to be one for me. 8 a.m.? Oh, that's perfect. If it's 8 a.m. Eastern, that's perfect, because that's like literally right as I'm getting to work. Which all it relies on me to do is like not to do my JP account when I wake up. Because usually I'm not capped out. Losing my old account a few years ago, didn't know about the account code stuff at the time. Already had a factory reset on the phone I had on. Oof. Well, good news is, Alter, JP just got an actual, like, they've announced, I think sometime, actually, I think it's like May 7th is when it'll be occurring. They're going to have actual account binding to an Aniplex site on the Japanese side of things. So the hope is that gets brought to NA soon. And then, that will prevent losing your account when, your phone bricks or you lose the transfer code, hopefully. So that would be fantastic, I think, for people. But yes, welcome back. I think I'll just pick Faker. Faker's always a good choice. I mean, she's a 100% charger, and she's like I already explained this before. Not only do you have Pretender, which is just naturally like semi-effective against 3 classes, but you've also got Berserker that they're going to be effective against, and Faker herself specifically is also effective against Caster. Then on top of that, Pretender is naturally the counter to Alter Ego. So you literally end up having like 6 different classes that she's effective against, and that's not a bad spread if you really think about it. It's not like perfect 200% effectiveness, but it's still good numbers. It is May 7th. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember the actual date off the top of my head. I mean it when I say this, chat. I actually have a headache right now, but so it's making it more poignant for me to say this. But like, I have too much shit jumbling around in my head this current week, so hopefully I can start to alleviate all of that. I lost my account once. Luckily, customer service helped me recover it. Yeah, and sometimes they do. The only problem is sometimes they don't. I have actually heard of people that like they went to customer service and customer service just told them no. And even when they provided like adequate info, customer service is like, no, And in some cases, I think it's because customer service could tell the account was not originally theirs. And in other cases, I think it was just, maybe they actually did get something wrong and didn't realize it. But it's really weird and difficult to tell on that stuff. Constantine dropping sooner. Do you think 6.5 will be coming sooner too? We know it's mid-May. They did already announce that. Which, like I told you guys, I was thinking mid-May to late May, but I told you I thought late May, so I'm wrong on that one. But I'm not surprised to see it happening in mid-May. It's just one of those deals where I'm not really sure what their rush is. I have a theory on that. We'll try to talk about it soon. Damn, I even recovered my JP account somehow. It does happen. Like, there are people that have it easy, and then there are people that, like, customer service gives them the runaround. I don't know why. I love that because I invested too much into this account. Yeah. Arjun Alter, thanks to White Day and Q-Caster. Oh yeah, Q-Caster's great if you manage to get him. He's been good while farming for the event. Yeah, I think a lot of people would tell you that like 1-stars and stuff aren't that useful, and it's usually people that have played other games. I'm gonna say like 1-stars and stuff are gonna struggle at like late game content, but if you're trying to just like even something like 90 content, like level 90, because there's 90, 90 plus, and 90 plus plus really, and so even for stuff like 90 content, which is still considered to be in game, you can still use 1-stars and they work perfectly fine as long as they are, part of the plan and the comp that you're trying to actually get the node done with. But like, yeah, no, you should not in any way, shape, or form feel bad about using Mary Anning. She's fantastic. And I pointed out to people when I reviewed her that she's very similar to like Jason, and Jason's another one that people have. Some people think he's trash. Other people think like, wait, no, he's actually pretty good considering he's a 1-star. We need big brain in the future for him. Yeah. EXE Avalon, thank you for the follow. Hold on, this is getting out of hand. Now there are... God, I think there's like 4 Avalons that I know now. But thank you. Welcome to the stream. Can't even grailed Anning because he likes her so much. No, don't. Okay, so that for anyone who's new here, so that you understand, I am quote unquote the Saberface guy. At least on the directory, and like have been here for years. My NA account is all Saberfaces. Like that's the only ones that I grail. I have almost all the units in the game, but the only grails I give are to Saberfaces. This past week, I messed up on accident and grailed Mary Anning because I wasn't paying attention while leveling her up. So I went right through to Palingenesis and accidentally did it. It's the first grail I've ever used not on Mary Anning. Not on Saber. And it's funny because out of all the people that could happen to, and like I said, this is pure coincidence and accident, it literally happened to the one unit that canonically simps on Saber faces. So I find it pretty hilarious that it's like I literally grailed the like in-game equivalent to myself. Catalactus, thank you for the follow. Oh my god, that is an auspicious number that we're sitting at right now, chat. Thank you guys for the follows. I do appreciate it. Follow because Saber Chad, thank you. You've come to the right place. It's on point and on character for CAD. Yeah, and again, so you can even see this is actually my JP account at the moment, and there you go, right? Like, so it be what it be. CAD, you shouldn't grail yourself on stream, you'll get banned. I don't like the way in which you said that. Too many 9s, indeed. I've heard there was pretty much no such thing as a bad unit in this game. Yeah, I'm gonna say there are units that need work. Like, I'll never tell you that there's quote unquote like that every unit is perfect, every unit is great, and they have no problems, right? There are certainly units that I think need a lot of work, but I will also say that any unit in the game, if you structure the composition of the party around them, can function well. Period. End of story. So it's like, you might not be able to 3-turn with them, but it's usually people being too sensationalist about stuff and not like going, and giving things a chance, basically, is what I would say. I have 5 lures burning a hole in my pocket. I was curious if I should give 2 of them to Galatea, so her battery and buster and NP gain will be maxed out. I don't think it's a bad idea, especially if you've got nothing else that you think is worthy of it, Sora. Jekyll and Hyde disagree. So this is really funny, and I like I said, I know I probably ruffled some feathers by saying that Aoko was essentially 5-star Jekyll and Hyde. The thing I'm gonna say about that is that's not necessarily a bad thing. While I do think that Aoko still has some concerns with her kit, I will say that Aoko is a much better version of Jekyll and Hyde than Jekyll and Hyde is. So it's like she at least represents that they're moving forward with that concept and understanding more about it and how to handle it. Yeah, but she has an NP, exactly, and that right there is already a difference. So. Yeah, Geronimo can do some interesting stuff. Of course, someone requested this. Yeah, so we have to go over Constantine today and Alice, the new unit on JP. On this Annie, they'll totally buff them, right, guys? Sure. I picked Salter with my ticket. Is NP1 going to be good enough when she gets her JP buff? So, yes, but no. What do I mean by that? Salter's really good. Even at NP1, she can do a shit ton of damage for you. The problem you're going to run into at NP1 is in order to Black Grail loop with her, in order to 3 turns starting from 0% charge, okay? You need to at least unlock her a pin so that you can start her out at 10% charge. Sounds weird, right? Because it just said you're starting at 0, but like getting the append unlocked is sort of the requirement in order to allow her to do that. As long as you do that, though, you're good. So you can do that even with 1 copy. The problem is, I think you got to get to like, what is it, Bond 12, chat? So like, that's the issue you're going to have at NP1. But you can still do it. And I'll say this too. Looping from 0 is not the end of the world. Like if you can't do it, it's not like, oh my god, I can't use this unit. Starting her off with a 50% damage, she'd still do really good. Right? Like any EC, that has 50% charge and some sort of damage steroid on it. So cranking that you just got in the NA event is going to be a fantastic CD to use on her. Yeah, mana loading. So that's why a lot of people are saying like get MP2 is just so you have enough coins, but the actual NP damage is not the factor there. It's simply to get the coins. So as long as you can get the coins, you're good. And even if you can't get the coins, you're still good. Skipping on Constantine to mean servants I want coming up. Yeah. Hoping Napoleon gets a buff this anniversary. That'd be interesting because I feel like Napoleon is still okay. This is like really weird for the AoE archers because there's just a constant pissing match between them. And like, I feel so bad for the single target archers in the middle of all of it. But yeah, like I'm not going to say that like you couldn't give Napoleon a buff, but I would hope that if they give him a buff that it's nothing huge and that if it impacts damage, it's a small impact to his damage because Napoleon's still really good against divine enemies. He can still really, really pop off against them. But admittedly, he used to be better than Gil if it was divine, and now Gil's gotten another upgrade. So yeah, like I'm not gonna be against that for at least making him like stronger in niche, if that makes any sense. Here might take a choice to either Salter, Edison, Helena, or Estrella. I haven't had time to pick a 5-star. Yeah, so the free 5-star from the shop is usually like this. It's usually either pick your favorite that is on the ticket or pick like waiver, usually is what people recommend. Sometimes in some cases there may be a Tamamo pick in there too, but this largely depends on like what supports you already have. So that would be my advice, is if there's someone you really desire from the 5-star ticket, go ahead and pick them. If not, I'd say picking waiver is usually the safe choice because he's a 50% charger. So I've talked about this before, that in FGO, You don't really need to care about having every unit in the game. If there's any units that are close to a quote-unquote must roll, it's these sort of meta supports that we talk about. If you can manage to get your hands on more of them, it's usually going to be better for your account. It actually helps you out. It makes the game easier to play, easier to 3-turn and farm, which is what you're going to be spending the majority of your time in the game doing anyway. So making that easier on you, definitely a good thing. Usually amongst that crowd, though, it's like we call the 50% chargers. That's usually once you get like 2 to 3 of them, your account's at this like, it's good, finally. Because that'll allow you to 3-turn a ton of stuff. So that's why a lot of people will just advise you to go ahead and pick Waver. But then there is units like Tamamo out there that are still quote-unquote a meta support. She doesn't provide any charge within her own kit, but she still does some really nice stuff for arts looping. And at least with some of the other like permanently available units, like even 3 stars and lower, so like you've got like Hans out there, you've got like Mozart and stuff like that, that basically even Paracelsus really at a low level that like you will have access to and you can get your hands on. You can form at least like a sort of like proto arts looping system with them. So depending on like if you have a good like arts DPS unit to actually like loop through the waves with, picking Tamamo's not the worst choice either. It really depends on kind of what you're trying to do. If you can only pick one to roll for, Lady Avalon or Summer Scotty, my first question is going to be, do you have original Scotty? If you don't have original Scotty, I'm probably going to tell you to roll Summer Scotty. If you do have original Scotty, then Summer Scotty is still a consideration. And then the next question becomes, do you have Merlin? And if you have Merlin, my answer is probably going to be Summer Scotty. If you don't have Merlin, my answer is probably going to be Lady Avalon at that point. So it's like a weird flowchart, but it definitely depends. And I think you could make a good argument for Lady Avalon over Summer Scotty regardless. But it really just depends on what you're trying to do. Sleepy, thank you for the 10 months. Appreciate it, bud. Hello, Insane. Not familiar with most characters' names yet. Which one is Waver? So Waver is Lord Elmaloy II. He's the big guy in the black suit that's smoking a cigar. Zhuge Liang. This dude. If you can see him. And yeah, if I ever use jargon and you're not unsure, feel free to ask me. Does Lulter have a banner later this year? Yes, with Jack. It's part of the Singularity something campaign in like November. I'm of the opinion Lady Avalon in every situation. Right, and that's what I'm saying. I think there's a good argument to be made for both. And it really just depends on what you're trying to do. For me personally, I like to tell people to diversify so that like you have a good buster, a good arts, and a good like quick support unit. As long as you have each one of those, it doesn't really matter what the game throws at you. Like you could have a fight where quick is entirely incentivized and you'd be good. You could have a fight where you absolutely can't use arts and you'd be good. So it's like it doesn't really matter what the game tries to do, you can adjust to it. Looks a grump as chill dude, Waver. Well, Waver is the epitome of how can I put this, like pensive, right? Where like he's just always anxious. What happened to the strange fake anime? You know, I'm surprised we haven't heard more about it. Like again, this is where I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna say Trubs was right to criticize them for Anime Japan. Because we didn't get any news at Anime Japan, be it FGO or anime related. Are there other options on quick supports besides Scotty and Ruler Scotty? Not really. So if you want a devoted quick support, the answer is no. If you want to consider alternatives, then the answer would be yes. There's people out there like Nero Bride that are somewhat card agnostic. They don't really care what card type you are. They usually help you out with refund and attack up. There's other units out there, like you could point to someone like Wu or Alexander that can give like attack up or defense down and quick up, but it's usually not enough to help. There's other units out there like original Shisho, aka Scathich. I'm gonna butcher the name. I'm sorry. I usually just call her Shisho, but there's units like her that basically have a 50% quick up. The only problem is she really needs it for herself, so it kind of depends what you're trying to do. Yeah, there's Osaka Behime out there as well that does like hybrid with busters, so it really just kind of depends. Ultra MP4, Hephaestion MP2, that is the question. Hephaestion's permanent, so ask yourself how badly you need her. Because again, NP2 would be a huge jump up for her that'll let her do a ton more damage, but again, ask yourself how badly you need her and how much you're going to be rolling Haze. Because if you're going to be rolling a ton, it's likely that Hephaestion spooks you. If you're not going to be rolling a ton, it's likely that she doesn't. You also have Van Gogh and Doman. Yeah, so there's other units that you can use to like set up like even potential carding and crit systems as well. That's why it's like the true devoted quick support. No, there's only the two of them, at least at the moment. But there are other alternatives. So quick is sort of like a big brain card type right now for a lot of people, where you really just kind of got to know what you're doing. And it's not too hard. Like I could easily walk anyone through it. It's just you kind of got to know what you're doing. Isn't Doman chaotic evil support more or less? Yeah, basically. And that's why a lot of Doman systems are double Doman, because he's chaotic evil, so they each buff each other, and it's quadruple buffs. Ruler Moriarty is his other identity, the biggest Astrea sump. Yeah. Okay, chat, this is JP. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to show you story unless the game makes me fight. And you're still not going to see the cutscene. Altered is going deep for Creamhill in summer. Yeah, go for it. Like I said, that's usually the reason that you guys are going to hear me slant a little bit towards story locked units. And I know a lot of them are saber faces. I'm sorry. I just like in general, I'll slant more towards story locked units because they're harder to get your hands on. It usually requires you to have to devotedly roll like that specific manner rather than like, hey, again, like with Astrea might just constantly spook and show up. For instance, my Astrea on JP is NP5 due to spooks. Oh, I think they need to give 3-star and lower quick supports. Yes, I do agree with that. I'm really surprised that they haven't. And like I pointed this out, you guys are going to get Shu Fu coming up at the anniversary this year. She's a really nice 3-star art support. There was like no reason they couldn't have made her quick. Like I actually don't understand their design choice in that regard. I think you're definitely underselling Edison, though. I don't think I'm underselling Edison. I think Edison's good. I'm just not going to like sit there and be a sunshine pumper on him. I think Edison is good in the right scenarios, but the majority of people can get away without having him. Is basically the way I would put it. What the am I staring at? What is going on, JP? Oh boy, it's a foreigner battle. Well, what's the easiest way to kill a foreigner? Not with another foreigner. What am I running here? Need alter ego. So you are actually damage bonus. We're going to replace you and put melt back there. Probably should put on actual charge sheets, but it is what it is. Story spoiler, yeah, I figured. But yeah, no, I mean, just going back to the Edison comment, like, I think Edison is unique. I think he's come a long way. If this were like day one Edison, I would be telling you not to pick him. Specifically, like, do not pick him. But this is Edison after a long time. I think he does have some uses, particularly with his cooldowns, particularly with his overcharge. But usually, I think it's probably better to take a different unit. So that's kind of why my opinion is the way it is. Because the way I look at it is almost no one's probably going to use Edison as the devoted damage dealer. You could, but most people probably won't because his refund and damage are both low. So I think at that point, he's more of like an accompaniment to someone else. And while he does some unique stuff, you can find other ways to provide it. And usually from a sort of more lucrative unit, if you will. But there are some unique combinations, like chat pointed out the other day with like Ace, where it's like, yeah, he just kind of works really well. So, do you know Foreigners being super effective on Foreigners really shows how JP sees foreign events? Yeah. Do you think we'll get any strong meta support units, or do you think it'll be sort of it for support units? No, I suspect they will eventually come to realize that they need to do more for Quick. I think they probably already know, and they're probably just holding off for a unit that like is gonna be the guy for Quick. But I don't know what that'll be. Like that might be, as people have theorized for a while, like Abe no Seimei or something like that. When he finally comes around, maybe he's the Quick savior that everyone's been mentioning. But I don't know, right? Do you think it was a little weird that we didn't get anything for President's Day this last year? I know we did last year. Actually, did we not? I don't remember. I got Tamamo as a spook the last Morgan banner. Nice. I just had her spook me on JP, which is kind of wild. Okay, I can't read that. I'm going to assume, since there's no expiration, that is either a conditional guts or it is gone off of break bar. Also looks like we got 10 times of some sort of debuff immunity. Whether or not it's total debuff immunity remains to be seen. Healing, crit chance, and crit damage up. Fudge. Okay, so if I were going to do this, how would I do it? Well, I actually don't have a lot in the way of cards, but we can certainly try. We're going to go ahead and try to let Bazette do her thing. Also going to end up popping Aoko since she's in P-sealed anyways. And... probably do it like that. Basically grab the mighty chain there. Besides Near a Bride, aren't almost all the meta support units cavalry units? Almost all the meta support units cavalry units. I mean, we have a bunch of extra classes now, but yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree with that to an extent. Like, I am surprised they haven't done more, but I love Cat Overthinking. I always do. Because I can't read, right? Like, this is the issue on JP. But sometimes my overthinking saves my ass. Fun fight, yep. Chat, you have no idea. I totally won that. You didn't see, but when it faded to black there, I actually won. I came back and like came at it from behind with a steel chair. Didn't even trigger Bazette's MP. Yep. Oh boy, it's another foreigner. I wonder what we're fighting. Also got spooked by Cersei in the Castoria banner. Cersei's a great unit. I think like historically damage for her hasn't been the greatest, but like I'll say it once, I'll say it again. Having 50% charge is usually a good sign that you're a good unit in this game. So what then does having more than 100% mean? You're probably a good unit. You probably can sit there and do some wacky stuff. Okay, so the game wishes for me to use Alice. Should I use Alice? When do we get the new chain on NA? Anniversary. So literally in like 2 months. Yes, she's unkillable. That's a good point. Except for that fact where she is killable. All right, let's go. Yeah, that's Ruler, I think, right? No, that's Avenger. That's Ruler. Let's maybe throw Mash in just until I'm sure I can fit the other unit. Okay, so I can't actually fit it. So who do I want to bring here? I could do foreigner on foreigner, but... That's a lot of purple hair. Yes, it is. Hmm. Okay. Chat wants to hear the music. We let chat face the music. Is it just me or is Aoko a Shisho face? She's not, but she's done by the exact same artist, so I can see why you would think that. Gotta say it louder so he hears the text. Wait, how would I hear the text? Okay. Is that a star? Yes, it's a golden star, chat. You each get a golden star. Fun fact. Oh shit. I totally forgot that's for 50% charge. Hmm. Not bad damage. Sorry, was that a baguette, man? I don't think I had seen that. That's just weird. Okay, well she did it. Let's do it again. I'm gonna keep doing it as long as the game lets me. She has lots of unique animations. Yeah, I get that. It's very elaborate, MP. Her refund is great. I mean, I do have Alice's third skill and second skill active on her. But yeah, her refund's not bad. Okay, so it is probably true debuff immunity. Will I summon for Alice? No. No, it's not currently in my plans.
I do think she's a very interesting unit, though. Oko made that decision for Cat. Yeah, I'm flat broke too. That's the other issue. Okay. As long as she doesn't get drained. And she didn't. I don't think she's actually gonna get killed here, but I may just sit on the stuff. But yeah, this Alice is just like, she's just murdering this node. There's no real threat other than that MP. CZ, thank you for the 40. Appreciate it, my dude. How you doing? Okay, hopefully she still gets enough here. And before full charge. Oh, what is that? Hmm. Four turns. Well, I'll live. I don't know about my other units, but Alice should certainly live. On my way to work, nice. Hopefully you have a good day. It's been a hot minute since I've danced on stream, good sir. Alice will use Twitter to survive. Yep. Alice is actually Elon Musk. Oh, whoa! So it actually did MP that turn. Interdasting. I just hope it's not a full charge, but it shouldn't be. And before, this is the fourth card. Oh, it's not my Aoko, so. This is also a crazy MP. Oh, it's the first time I've seen her smiling in the MP. Is that a variant? %. Hate this game sometimes. Hate this game. Command spell? Nah, it's fine. I shouldn't need it. Oh, I should have used the quick card though.
切り分けた。これがテムズタラル第一形態だ。黙っていてくれ。仕事の時間は夜の痛みは遠く近く。
98%. I swear this game is messing with me now.
色あせた夢いいわ。
It knows.
ごっこ遊びをしましょう。太古の神秘、笑う決意、こぼれ落ちて舞台はクラッとしよう。あなたの負けよ。スコーンは何？これがテムズタラル第一形態だ。黙っていてくれ。クロナイツ。
Hmm. Really don't need to do that, but we will. Just for that right there.
いいわ。開演の時に空を仰いで恐れなさい。マインスターの
I'm just gonna see if I can keep nuking this with Alice. I like she's carried the whole way. I want to see her do it again.
小さくなる。ロスト。なんだブリッジフォール。
I find it funny that it just doesn't damage Aoko. Like, you're clearly supposed to just kill this with Aoko. And I'm like, no! She sings? Yes, London Bridge.
今回だけよ。いいわ。
Aoko might get the final kill anyways.
いいわ。ごっこ遊びをしましょう。太古の神秘、笑う決意、こぼれ落ちて舞台は。
You know, she sings London Bridge falling down, but then we have Fujino who actually makes the bridge fall down.
立ち上がれ。まだ早い。ここで終わることは許さんぞ。
Wonder what evil terror plan she has for it. Don't worry about it. Please, dear God, don't make me fight it again. Okay. Song might have been my favorite part of the VN. I, like, the only thing about this is, like, this VN just seems very, like, schizophrenic right now. It seems, like, all over the place, where it's, like, creepy, like, dark horror, and then, like, super fucking, like, vibrant, happy music, right? So it's just, it feels like it's, like, back and forth, which I think is cool. I assume that is the end of story. Dark what? Dark horror. Horror. Mahoyo is amazing. It seems like it, right? Hodor, yes. Oh wow, it actually kicked me out of the event. So that was like the normal Lost Belt title screen. So you're like, you're done with this singularity at the end of the event. Case closed. Mordor. Nope. We did it, chat. We finally completed mission 7, whatever that means. I do find it funny. Okay. I do find it funny that, like, I'm already at 79 missions. And there is still, like, 15 days left in this event. It's like, what are you doing, JP? And you can see there's the CQ, which I would do if I had everything unlocked. That is the 90 plus plus. That is the 90. Let me take a look at the 90 real fast. Backyard, luck A or higher, luck E or lower. The Lakshmi should qualify for the luck E or lower. And Artoria qualifies for luck A or higher. She's the same comp that I use, Cat. Why would I do that? Your comp sounded terrible. Oh. Let's see. I assume this node drops everything, actually. Let me double check. It does not. It is gold main. Means we use Babathy. Means we do one of these. Nobody expects the Mordred Inquisition. Dare you accuse me of hacker manning? Oh, I do dare. This one, wait, does it have starting charge? No, it doesn't. I'm probably gonna leave Shufu in then. Shufu in. I do need to keep bonding him. And then we'll do Sugitani. And we'll go. Alice, Zerctoria, and double Skadi. I see. Oh, you know, it might have helped if I actually put in the luck characters that I just talked about. Hopefully one of the people in the party is... What's Castoria's luck stat? Okay, someone is, because I got 4. Well, I don't know who it is, but I'm not going to question it. And yeah, chat, this is Shufu, who you guys are going to get more of later this year. Mispronounce the names like that in a server review just to see comments go. Oh, I'll never forget like some of the comments I've gotten over the years. Some of them are awful. And like, yeah, I'll probably say like Shufu and I'll get someone being like, how dare you, it's pronounced, and I'll be like, I can't pronounce that, I'm sorry. Like, and I do apologize whenever that's the thing. It's not me trying to be like disrespectful so much as me just going like, yeah, I'm not actually sure what the proper pronunciation is, and I'm just gonna like give it my best. Why is Shufu so prolific in whale rolls? I have no idea. Yeah, like she's someone that is there. It's probably more that you just have like confirmation bias because she's a extra class and there's not many like extra classes that show up. Also, chat. It's like super loud in my ears, so we're gonna turn the song back on. Did take me long to figure out a servant like Ace is pronounced Ash. Yeah, it's Aish is how it's supposed to be, but like, yeah. Like, honestly, chat, nobody who like still is around like at this, well, sorry, there is no one still around to really like grammar police you on something like that. Like, anyone that does is just being very pedantic with you. I just call her Tonalico. I just call her Ace. It is what it is. I gotta know these things. Oh, yeah. Oh, finally, I actually got a copy of that dude. He will forever be that dude. What kind of English teacher am I if I can't study the old language? I don't know. You're probably the type of English teacher that can't study the old language. Dude McDudson, indeed, Cad? Yep. Chad, did you at least approve of my thumbnail for Sono G? Was that appropriate? I figured chat would be okay with that one. Sono Gino Sadame Jojo. Needing sparkling abs? I'm sorry, I'm not that good with Photoshop. The thumbnail was lewd. His artwork is that way. I'm sorry, it just is what it is, chat. There's nothing I can do about it. Sorry, I got one of those DMs I was waiting on, chat. This emote is a JoJo reference? Listen, chat, everything's a JoJo reference. I was telling people before, though. So, chat, did you know that Cad Cry and Cad Scream are Konosuba references? Straight up. Like, if you know, you know, but if you've never watched Konosuba, you would never know that. Ah. Also, look at all of chat saying yes, but they're not subbed, so they don't have the emote, so they can't spam it. Anyways, let's go ahead and start the reviews. I'm going to start off with Alice. That's probably the one most of you are here for, but I will be doing Constantine. Constantine's a little bit more Constantinople-ish. Madge. Okay, wait, hold on. That was the wrong one. Oh my god, I have way too many tabs open. Forgive me, chat. I even have Roll20 open from the other day.
hangman is coming down from the gallows, and I don't have very long. Oh, Caliente, thank you for the gift subs. Appreciate it, my man. Yeah, can we get some love for Caliente? And if you guys were lucky enough to get a gift sub from him, make sure you thank him. Time to activate my evasion 100. It happens. It do be like that. Okay, so where am I going? Right here. Here's Alice. Arisu. Yeah, hold on, chat. I actually want to see if I can translate Usu? Wait, why did that go to Sojer? What did I just press? Like, I don't know, and I'm actually afraid. Usu though. I was like, I could have sworn it should have been Arisu. Wait, is it not? No, it's open. Yeah, okay. I still have the thing. Arisu is probably going to be recommended with well, shit. This is an interesting one. What is it, chat? Chocolate Heaven. And I don't believe she has. No, she has Sure Hit, right? She doesn't have Invuln Pierce. Yeah. So we can at least recommend the ye old perfect invincibility Pierce. It would be read as Arisu, yeah. Yeah, the only reason I know is because I've watched, Alice in Borderland, and the whole time it's labeled Alice, and then, like, you have this, like, big brain moment where you keep, like, you're, like, following the characters along, and you realize that the main character's name is Arisu, and you're like, oh my god, that's Alice. And, like... I'll never forget. I was like, I should have realized this like before I even started watching. And I didn't realize it until like 3 episodes in. And I was like, oh, the main character, which is a dude, which is named Arisu, is actually their version of Alice. Okay. Servant hurts my brain. It should be relatively easy to do this one though. So let me get it pulled up here on the side. We should be good to go. Huh? Yeah, it's not gonna matter. Okay. We'll just double check. Seeing F man is never gonna never gonna not make me laugh. Oh yeah, no, I know. All right. let's go ahead and get this party started. Hey guys, my name's Khadroth, and today we're going to be talking to you about Kuonji Alice. Alice is going to be our newest 5-star caster added to the game with the miHoYo Collab. She's going to be a limited unit, and somebody that, probably outside of this collab, you're going to have a hard time encountering banners for. So as a result, when we just start talking about rolling for her, the obvious recommendation is going to be roll her on that first banner when it's kind of easiest to do so. That being said, Alice comes into the game in a very interesting state. She's going to be an AoE quick caster, and her kit is very foreign to us in that regard. That it is very interesting in the way that it can kind of manipulate the battle to its advantage. So we're going to talk about that as we move through and kind of get you up to speed with all the things you might need to know on Alice. So to start off with, let's just go ahead and take a look at her actual raw stats here. You can see she's basically going to be at about 10k attack, 10.6 to be specific. This is not the best attack stat for a 5-star, but again, it is a caster, so we're not expecting, crazy amounts like we would with, say, an Avenger or something like that. So it's a-okay to at least say, hey, look, she's got a decent amount. And to be truthful here, she will have a good chunk of steroids within her kit, and super effective damage on her NP, so the attack stat's not the biggest of concerns. Obviously, she is right now in the middle of an event, but don't let event damage bonus fool you. I'm just going to say damage should be sufficient. And again, as you guys can actually look at the HP stat here, it's actually knocking on the door to 15k. This is certainly not bad. Definitely a more robust HP-wise servant here, so certainly really good for her. Now, the interesting thing to denote about Alice is that she's got 2 different stages, if you will. That is to say, in her first and second ascensions versus her third ascension, she has different attributes, different traits, if you will. So you can see in the first 2 ascensions, she actually ends up having man trait. In the third ascension, she has earth trait. And the reason that this is going to matter is because it does mean that you can manipulate this to potentially get more bonus damage. Remember, these do actually affect damage output, so you want to make sure that you're going to take the right trait to be countered against the enemies that you are fighting. Interesting to note, she has 51 star absorption. This is at least a little bit higher than your average for a caster, and she has 10.6 star generation, which is, again, okay. Her NP charge rate here is only 0.51, which isn't the best, but the reality here is that she'll also probably be okay here. Just keep in mind she is a quick unit rather than an arts unit. So, normally if we look at arts looping numbers, they tend to refund a lot. A quick unit's not going to refund as much, but they don't decide the NP charge attack here purely based off the NP. It's also based off card performance, and that's actually probably the major determinant for it. So, needless to say, this should be an adequate amount, even though it's not going to give her the best refund off of her NP. She does have NP charge defense of 3% here, and again, a death rate of 33%, though honestly, you're not going to have to worry about this. While this is normally a little bit higher than average, it's actually not a concern for Alice. We'll talk about that as to why later. You can see again with her first and second ascension, she will be chaotic good alignment, and then with her third ascension, she'll be chaotic evil. So again, keep in mind, this may be something that you can manipulate to your advantage, just depending on who her party members are, so it is what it is. Her gender is going to be female. She's a hominid, servant, a humanoid, a living human, a just normal servant, a 7-night servant, which is Beast Nero's trait, and then weak to Enema Elish. Also, in her third ascension, she is considered to be levitating. Now, the interesting thing to denote here is going to be the deck. Her deck is actually double arts, double quick, and this is sort of ideal for refund, especially if you're going to be using cards. She is a quick-centric unit, but having the 2 arts cards there is definitely going to be valuable to her if you're trying to refund after an MP just under her own power. Obviously, having only the 1 Buster, though, is a little bit of a problem, especially as we start talking about, say, Summer Scotty and the things that she can do for both Quick and Buster. So, certainly, looking at it from that standpoint, having only the single Buster is not a good thing. Still, you can maybe see why they kept the NP gain rate so low, because both the Quick and the Arts card have 5 hits, which is fantastic. So certainly that's going to have quite the ability to refund based off of carding. Even her Buster card is still above average at 4 hits, and only her extra attack is average at 5 hits. So as we take a look at her active skills now, you can see her first one is actually going to increase her own Quicken Arts performance for 3 turns here by 20% each. Again, this is not the best in terms of steroids, but I've already seen that card performance is pretty good, so we don't have to worry about it too much. Still, taking a look at the rest of the skill here, she charges her own NP gauge by 50%. I have seen some interesting and weird takes saying that like 50% chargers are, for quick units not good. I don't really understand people that think that way. Having 50% charge is better than not having 50% charge. So this is obviously going to be a really nice feather in her cap. Is this going to make it a little bit easier for her to be able to brute force loop? Something that I think is just going to become natural to a lot of quick units over time. But still, definitely like to see it, as it does give her some immunity a little bit from oddly structured nodes. You can also see here too, something that I think a lot more quick units could use is NP gain up that she has for 3 turns on the party by 30%. So not just her, but the entire party. And this is really, really nice because NP gain up often synergizes quite well with quick units, since quick cards just don't really generate a lot of Noble Phantasm on their own. They don't have that 300% modifier like Arts does, and it naturally ends up sort of kind of coming back to haunt them sometimes. So having NP gain up can be a really, really good thing. Though obviously, if you're, say, focusing on hitting a 3 enemy wave, that's perfectly fine. But if you're hitting only a 2 enemy wave, this means that your refund is doing less for you because it's kind of scaling based off the number of enemies you hit. So naturally, it's going to be a really good thing for her to have rather than not. Just pay attention to the fact that having less enemies in a node might also just make her end up shy. Her second skill here is another interesting one in the fact that it's going to increase her own attack for 3 turns and defense for 3 turns. Each of these is a 30% amount at max rank, so definitely another nice steroid for her to add in addition to that 20% up that she had on the first skill. But then it further allows her to, if the field is either forest, city, or darkness, which is a relatively new one. We only had Hassan of the Shining Star, I believe, before that allowed a trait on a darkness battlefield. So none of them allow them to turn the battlefield yet to darkness, but we'll probably get someone that can do that in the future. Still, for right now, she will gain basically an additional 20% attack up and defense up when on those fields. So definitely a nice thing if you can manage to manipulate it to your advantage, but just be careful, make sure you know what the node type actually is by default, because sometimes you would think a node type is one thing and then it's actually not. Either way, again, this is another nice feather in her cap, as it's going to add even more potential damage for her. All of this also on a 6-turn cooldown. We didn't talk about it earlier, but the first skill was also on a 6-turn cooldown. Then we get to the third skill, and this is where the cooldown actually is important. But you can see here that she actually gets a unique buff. And the way this is going to work is it's called Rob Encounter. This is actually going to be something that's given to her by her passive. Talk a little bit more about it when she gets there. Just understand that it's going to grant her basically a substitution status for 1 attack for 2 turns. This is a unique form of anti-purge defense, aka solemn defense, aka the buff that Castoria gives to people with her NP. So it's unique in the sense that it stacks with solemn defense. That is to say, it's a multi-turn duration, and it is unique in the fact that it is immune to buff removal of any sort. So that obviously can be hit off of her, but it cannot be stripped from her. So it's really, really nice in that regard. And again, due to the fact that it can actually stack with Castoria's solemn defense, does make it at least very nice in that regard. Again, most other sources of solemn defense do not stack. So due to the fact that it is a actual unique variant of it with its own buff icon and everything, the ability to actually combine these could prove useful to you from time to time. This skill is also going to charge her own NP gauge up to 20%. This is going to make you want to lure it, but I'll be honest, you're going to want to lure it even still because of the cooldown of the skill. So it has a chance to reduce her own buff count to the Robin counter by 1. It's a 500% chance, so it's not really a chance at all. You're going to lose a count on it, but we'll talk about that here in a second. Still, though, the actual cooldown being a 2-turn cooldown means that you don't have to worry about like Koyanskaya cooldown reduction shenanigans. You can just straight up go ahead and pop this skill on turn 1 and have it back by turn 3 in the middle of a 3-turn normal farming setup. This is actually really nice. This changes her from being a 50% charging unit to functionally a 90% charging unit. Like I said, I still don't really understand people griping about her charge amount because it's really strong. So now let's go ahead and talk about the actual passives here. You can see she gets Territory Creation A, increasing her arts performance by 10%. That's going to make that 5-hit arts card even better. She gets Item Construction A, increasing her own debuff success rate by 10%. This is actually going to matter more with her NP than anything else. And then Folklore Defense B here, that's going to reduce damage taken except from a Noble Phantasm by 400. What does this mean? This means any attack made against her that is not a Noble Phantasm will get damage cut by 400. If it were the Noble Phantasm, let's be honest, the Noble Phantasm is still going to kill you. But the whole point is this will at least reduce the amount of damage getting done to Alice. And as you can see here, this also includes ailment debuffs. So your standard damage for an ailment debuff tends to be about like 500 damage. But interestingly enough, she would reduce that by 400. So you would only take like 100 damage from something like that instead. Or if it's a 1000 damage, say like burn or something, you would only take 600 damage. So it's actually a really sneakily strong passive, especially from your units receiving chip damage over time. Something that the devs really love to do in certain instances. So really a pretty good passive altogether. And then we get her truly unique passive here, which grants her instant kill gut status for 5 times. That is to say, it grants her basically the ability to not die to either the instant death or force death mechanics. So that would mean an enemy trying to death proc her or an ally trying to sacrifice her, aka Chen Gong. So in a weird way, this might mean that she doesn't work as well with Chen Gong, or maybe she works better with Chen Gong if you don't want her to die. Either one of those things is possible. Though, regardless, it is certainly a very nice passive, but it doesn't stop there. It also grants herself an On Guts Activate buff that recovers her own HP by 200 when Gut status is activated. This is not unique to the actual revival that, I'm just going to be honest, fandom didn't actually put in here. So, if you get killed by instant kill, her passive will pop her back up for the first 5 times at 1000 HP. This heal is separate from that. It is its own unique thing, which means that it not only will trigger on that guts proc from instant death, but it will trigger on any guts pop. So she just gets a free 2000 extra health, and because it is not guts itself and an actual separate heal, this can also be enhanced by way of command code, craft essence, or again, servant skill. So you might be able to get even more healing out of this depending on what you do. Really interesting mechanic that VIP was trying to figure out there earlier. On top of this, she has the Robin counter stack. This is what that third skill was talking about. She has 13 Robin counters, like eternally for that run. If she runs out of those 13, you can no longer use her third skill. So it's only available while you have the third skill and have the 13 stacks. The second you lose the 13 stacks, this skill can no longer be used. It's an odd little quirk, but I'm going to be honest with you and say you shouldn't run out of this. Even on a 2-turn cooldown, that's going to take you like, what, 26 turns? So at the end of the day, if you're not getting the job done despite popping this on cooldown every 2 turns for 26 turns, I'm going to be honest, you probably should just find some additional strategy to help you clear the fight. Because at that point, whatever you're trying to do is not working anymore. So the 13 counter stack is reasonably high. I don't think you have to worry about it too much. Odds are you're not going to run into it. But yes, that is going to be a little bit of an issue with her, that if you run out of the 13 times, you can't use that third skill anymore, and, you know, her survival is just going to tank. Still, it's a very, very interesting defensive-oriented passive setup there. Her second skill here is going to be mana loading. I can recommend this to you, but the reality is for most comps, she's actually probably not going to need it. Unless you start talking about weird things like not having 3 enemies in a node. At that point, you're really going to probably want the mana loading, but it may not be enough just depending on what you're trying to do. Her third skill here is anti-foreigner attack damage aptitude. This might come into play, especially with her super effective niches on her NP. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it might also not. So it's just up to you to determine how much you would value this. I'm going to say it's not the best third append. And if you're worried about coins and having enough to use on the things that you want, this one to me is a little bit of an odd man out. The first skill, especially if you're taking her into a challenge scenario, definitely going to be a nice one here for her, as extra attack finesse not only improves damage dealt by the extra attack, but also any form of performance, including NP generation and star generation. So still a very nice one. So I'm going to tell you to go with the mana loading first, then the extra attack finesse, and then the third one. But you might prefer the first one first. It's totally up to you. Now we get to the Noble Phantasm, and it is the same across both stages. It just has a different animation. And obviously, again, remember, if we remember from earlier in the video when we were talking about her ascension stages, she has different traits basically in the different ascension stages. So that might also impact your decision as to what one to have her in. Still, it is going to be a 7-hit AoE quick NP. It's going to basically do sure hit for 1 turn, activating first before the damage goes out. It's then going to increase her own damage against human enemies by 30% for 1 turn, activating first. So this is a 1 turn, 30% power mod against human enemies. What does that mean? Well, to break this down for you, 1, a power mod doesn't just affect the NP. It can affect additional carding after the NP. And 2, human enemies, not man-traded enemies. Human enemies are a much more specific group of usually fodder enemies that you run into. So things like the French soldiers or, again, pirates, those are considered to be human enemies. It'll then deal damage to all enemies and inflict terror status of 1 time for 3 turns to them. So that means that the terror proc can only happen once, but it has 3 turns to go off. Basically has a 60% chance to activate the debuff below every single turn, and then once it activates, it kind of clears it. But so it will stun the enemy for 1 turn when it does go off, and then it will also reduce their critical attack chance by 20% for 3 turns. Again, I've already talked about these before, but a lot of people probably devalue critical attack chance reduction, when the reality is it usually stops enemies from actually being able to crit you at all, especially depending on the type of enemy that you're facing. So this is actually going to be really good for someone like Alice, since she's a caster, and you're likely to be using her against assassins, which are very, very crit-centric enemies. So, again, a really nice sort of feather in her cap to have. And as you look here to the overcharge, you can see it actually deals extra damage to enemies with the man attribute. So not to confuse you with human and man, but here you go. She actually has both. She gets to dabble in both sides of these things. So man is one of the 3 major attributes. There are actually 5 attributes in total because there's star and beast. But star and beast are far less common. So man attribute is going to be roughly like 1/3 of the units in the entire game that are servants. So this is a very effective niche. Koyanskaya of Light obviously gives this to a ton of Buster units, and you'll see that in the comparisons that we're going to do for damage. But it is an interesting thing for her to have, and it is a 150% super effective niche. Now, again, I told you about power mods and how they will last not only on the NP, but also the duration of the turn with cards. Super effective is the reverse. It will only affect the NP. The upside to it is it scales really nicely. That is to say, it is multiplicative with every other source of steroid and damage enhancement that you have. It is its own unique category. Nothing else is additive with super effective modifiers. So it's very, very nice to have them. Now, we can go ahead and talk about sort of refund numbers with Alice. Because the reality here is, like I said, even with a 7-hit NP, even with Quick Up, even with a 0.51 NP charge attack rate, her refund with double Summer Scotty against 3 assassins is, well, basically like 33%. And that's going to end up being with 3 hits out of a possible 21 of overkill. Again, that's basically 3 enemies, 1 hit of overkill each, which is the basic assumption of you killed those enemies and moved on to the next wave. So with even 1 hit of overkill each, she would get 33%. And then you might be thinking, well, sure, but that can move upwards from there. And you'd be right, but remember, this is a quick unit, so we don't actually have a lot of refund to work with. So even at 21 out of 21 hits of overkill, so every hit was a kill shot, you basically ended up at that point still only at about 47%. So that's stretching it to its actual maximum there with a double Summer Scotty setup. So again, you can get good refund off of that, but you're not going to hit even that 50% breakpoint really. So you would need some other additional source of refund, maybe a third support, maybe somebody to give her charge per turn, or maybe, you know, her cards, or maybe the enemy hitting her to help her tip her over that 50% at that point. But let's be honest, getting to maximum overkill is just not really feasible in any scenario. So at this point, we're looking more at instead that 30% being that kind of break-even point for Alice. The good news is, we already pointed out, mana loading is a thing to help round that out. Her third skill, which can give 20% charge on turns 1 and 3, could also help that out. And again, there's units out there like Oberon that can work as your third support that can also provide 20%. So we're really not actually concerned about her refund. It is low, but she's still a Black Grail looper, and that's kind of why I'm going to recommend Black Grail on her. It's going to be the sort of best option. Not only is it going to scale incredibly well with Oberon's third skill, but it's just going to be your best overall offensive NP damaging CE in the game. You might not have this at MLB, but I've talked about this plenty of times before in other servant analyses. Just because you don't have this variant doesn't mean you can't use CEs like this. There are other CEs like Heaven's Feel, like Angel's Song, like Dragonkin, that can all work and do similar effects to this, albeit at lesser amounts. Then if you maybe wanted to start her out with a 50% C, maybe the node structure is really weird. Maybe it's like a 2-2-2 type wave or something like that. You maybe want a little bit more starting charge to help her work. Something like Traces of Christmas might actually work out really well for you. This is an old welfare CE from one of the prior lottos. It's got all attack scaling. It's got 50% gauge, NP generation rate, and quick up. So definitely another nice one to add to her. Maybe you don't have, something like Black Grail, but you also just find yourself needing a slight bit more refund. Something like Chocolate Heaven can actually be really nice. This is an old Valentine's gotcha CE, but let it kind of serve as a template for other CEs to watch out for. It's also all attack scaling, has NP generation rate by 20% at MLB, NP damage by 15, and quick up by 15. Be a really, really nice one. And again, she has sure hit, but she doesn't have invuln pierce anywhere in her kit. So having something like maybe Honey Lake lying around that can give you invuln pierce would be really good. Obviously, Honey Lake's sort of the gold standard for these because it's all attack scaling. And it also gives a power mod that you can just attach a command code to her cards to grant herself. So it's definitely a really, really strong CE, but people have a hard time getting their hands on it nowadays. Still, it is going to be the easy recommendation for an invuln pierce CE for her. And again, that's just talking really CE options. We do obviously have a Berserker refund scenario for you, and that's looking with Double Summer Scotty still at like 29% with a singular hit of overkill. So much tighter, but still doable because this will round up to 30 for the first 100%. So you don't have to worry about that. And if you're confused by that statement right there, what that means is that in the first 100% of a servant's charge bar, your amount will round up as you start trying to get it to 100. That is to say, if you end up at 99%, it will automatically round up to 100%. It only happens right there, but if you can get to 99%, it will round up. So it is an interesting thing to denote, but that's kind of why I talk about it. So that 29% is actually the break-even point for her. Now, let's go ahead and talk about Alice in the first 2 stages with her own self-buffs. So this is, again, just her numbers, not including any sort of external supports, mystic codes, craft essences, anything like that. You can see we have a lot of NP levels, obviously. We have her normal damage, and these are raw numbers. These are neutral numbers, not in any way, shape, or form effective. Then we have her against a human-type enemy. That's the 30% power mod. Her against a man attributed enemy, that's going to be your 150% super effective damage. Her basically against both human and man, and you can see right there you're getting some solid damage at that point. And then we start mixing in the field buffs. So remember, she has darkness, city, and forest that she gets an extra 20% attack on. So you can see each one of these numbers is the corresponding one for each one of those traits, also while being on the field. Definitely some solid numbers out of her. And again, like I said, these are neutral, so obviously the damage numbers go up from there, and this is still under her own power. But that was her first 2 stages. Let's check now stage 3. And the reason why we're going to check stage 3 is because if you remember, she has basically man and earth stages that will actually end up impacting this. So as you can see here, we have our NP levels, same sort of setup. You end up basically with your normal, and then again, you can see there the actual like damage numbers basically in relation to the prior one being higher. And that's again going to be that earth effectiveness there. And then you can see basically the field right there with the human modifier and man modifier as well. So again, that's just her raw numbers. Let's go ahead and talk about her charge scenario, though, at least a feasible one, before we talk about like anything with relation to actual, distilled numbers, if you will, numbers with an actual support. So for a charge scenario, this is an example of how she could work. 2 times Summer Scotty and Oberon versus functionally 3 assassins. Now, the interesting thing to denote here is basically that we're going to go ahead and use Alice's 50% charge here right there in wave 1. We're going to go ahead and do one of the Summer Scotty's 50% charges. That's going to be 100% right there. She's going to NP. And again, we're going to have made sure that we did both the Scotty like quick ups on her at that point. But you can see right here, the refund then would be about 33%. We would end up using Oberon's 20% right there after rotating one of the Summer Scotties out to bring that up to 50, use the other Scotty's 50% charge, and boom, you're at 100% again. That's your second wave. You're going to refund 33% back. Oberon's got his 50%, and Alice herself has 20% from her third skill. That's going to be another 100%, and she's going to NP the third time. So what this included was a relatively stable and easy loop to perform. What this didn't denote is that you could have had the mana loading for an extra 20% charge with Alice, and you could have also popped Alice's third skill on wave 1 as well for an additional 20% charge. So this worked, but it left 40% charge on the table. And the interesting thing about that is that basically this would allow you to maybe get away with someone like, say, a Reigns as a third support or a Waver as a third support, rather than having to use someone like, say, Oberon for you. As long as you have the ability to divvy up the charge in the right amounts, you should be okay. Also, it might mean that you could pull out one of the enemies from one of the waves, maybe a 2-3 type setup or maybe a 3-2 type setup as you're going through the first 2 waves, and she might be able to still make it depending on how you structure the charge. So it's interesting to denote that Alice just kind of has charge to spare and that the refund numbers are not the biggest issue. Again, the good part about only having something like 30% refund is that it can't go down all that much by not having enemies. It can, but it's not going to be a huge impact like it might be for someone like, say, an arts unit refunding to full, where you pull an enemy off and all of a sudden they only get something like 66% charge instead. So in the case of someone like Alice, it might go from 30 to 20% charge. So it's not going to be a huge swing. It might be enough to make you change how you have to handle it, but it's not going to be the end of the world. And remember, there are other supports that you could use, say someone like Nero Bride or something like that, that's also got 30% charge that you might be able to fit in there and make it work. Now, that right there is going to end up being the charge scenario that I talked about. So let's go ahead and talk about her actual damage, basically in stages 1 and 2, with her actual supports against actual enemies at this point. Now, these are still neutral numbers, but as you can see, this is 2 times Summer Scotty, Oberon, a level 100 Black Grail, and a Neo Plug suit. And this is the same thing down here, only with the field buff added, the additional 20%. So these are realistic numbers at NP1, basically neutral damage. You can still see with an actual like support setup, she's going to be doing 238k neutral damage in NP1 no niches, no fields, no nothing. So definitely not bad. As we start to actually move along the route here, you can see, human and man, or just even man trait, which is probably going to be the most common one. You're looking at very respectable numbers at this point. Remember, you can double these up. Obviously, this is with stuff like Black Grail, though, so keep in mind that damage numbers are going to come down if you're starting to use, like, say, Event Seas or something like that, or maybe you just don't have as robust of a Craft Essence lineup to actually use on her. It's okay. These are just sort of idealist sort of scenarios that we wanted to kind of depict to let you have an idea of how much damage she'd be doing. And this is kind of the same deal here, only now it's NP2 instead of NP1. You can see quite a bit of a damage bump up from that, so certainly nice numbers. And then down here, we've got the field buffs as well. You can see, again, it actually does represent quite a bit of a jump in terms of raw damage and firepower. So really, this is the example that we're trying to propose, that Alice is probably not going to be your best, highest, most damaging caster, but she is going to be a very robust caster, very hard to bring down, very tanky, and again, quite interesting given the fact of where the quick system currently lies. So let's take a look then at at basically an additional charge scenario here now. So this would be a split 50% charger instead, kind of like I talked about. This is basically with 70% charge coming turn 1, that's her own 50%, that's her own 20%, and then in append, bring her all the way up to 80%. You do Waver for an additional 20%, that's 100. You do basically Scotty on wave 2, plus Waver's 30, plus the 24% refund now. Boom, there you go, that's another 100. And then right there, you get Alice's 20% back on wave 3, the other Scotty 50%, and the refund of 33% to bring you back up to 100 a third time. So that was an example of exactly like I talked about, being able to use different options. Now, I'm not going to bother to show you the damage for that second scenario, but let's go ahead and start kind of comparing to some other units. NA actually just got Daiko Kuten on the server, so having some rough comparison to the rats is actually going to help out. You can see here at NP1, Daiko Kuten's only at about 192. As we were already denoting up here, Alice is going to be looking at basically 238. So not the best in terms of performance, but remember, this is a 4-star that you might be able to get additional MP levels up. So already at NP2, you're looking at 257. That's going to end up beating Alice at NP1. Obviously, the rats do end up having things like the super effective Earth trait, but Alice is no stranger to that, having super effective Man trait and her own human niche. So it is what it is. Maybe you're also on a good field for Alice. So Alice has a little bit of upward scalability that the rats don't. But again, it just comes down to whether or not you prefer the rats kit or have more copies of them. Here's going to be Ace, basically in one of the scenarios. We actually have a second one here for her. And this is going to be Coin Sky of Light, 2 times Oberon, a level 100 Black Grail, and a Neo Plug suit. But you can see already right there, just Ace at NP1, kind of just going to win that battle. So this is what I meant to say, is that, again, Alice is not going to be your strongest AoE. But her damage numbers are very respectable. We're talking, again, a difference here between like 289 and 309. So we're literally talking 20k in damage, and we're already dealing high damage at that point. So definitely not bad. And we do still have the evil niche that she can employ in order to get even more damage. So again, Ace is definitely a very nice unit. And now we're going to take a look basically at the same numbers with Ace, but this is going to be with Koyanskaya of Light's sort of man and human niche, because this is a little bit more comparable to someone like Alice here, who also has these niches. So this is something that Buster will kind of just naturally have by virtue of Koyanskaya being there. And again, this is going to be essentially 2 times Oberon with a level 100 Black Grail, so it's only the one Koyanskaya niche there. But you can already see just how much the damage scalability is going to go up. So certainly in terms of raw performance with Buster, someone like Ace just going to kind of out-damage her. And that's where I'm going to tell you that Alice is not really meant to compete directly with her. She's meant to be more of a challenge-oriented unit, or maybe even just a like farmer, but you don't necessarily need the highest damage for it. We do have Summer Umu here. She's someone that's going to be a very interesting one because she kind of has to use cranking instead. So you can see the damage numbers right here are going to end up being a lot less. This is sort of the issue with Summer Umu. She's got a 7-turn charge skill, so trying to get her back to that other 50% charge that would really help her pop off. Unfortunately, not the easiest thing to do because you have to factor in cooldowns. But still, you can see she does, obviously, if you're using Koyanskaya, have man and human niches that can be added in, and kind of the amount of scalability and damage that you can get out of these things is really going to be nice. Then we also have someone like Ku Caster, who is a welfare, if you will. He's a 3-star caster that everyone got from completing Fiyuki. And this is going to be with double Koyan Sky of Light, Oberon, level 100 Black Grail. You can see it just NP1. He's already doing 249. He's not out damaging her, but he is at least somewhat competitive. He's only about 30k less, if that. And so you can see, obviously, the second you get to even NP2, boom, there you go. We're kind of winning. But the issue with him is he's not going to have his own niches, short of Koyanskaya providing them. Again, it's going to be that Buster synergy that really allows him to shine through. But you can see basically here, looking at NP1 already with it, NP1 with the same traits, he's very much in his wheelhouse, at least against, basically Alice, sort of a naked NP there at just NP1. But the second we start including niche damage, all of a sudden this stuff starts just really popping up, particularly the man attribute. So it's going to take a lot more basically for him to actually be able to exceed her. And you're going to instead be looking at either doubled up niches or additional MP levels for him. Also interesting to note, we do have a Murasaki run here with double Castoria and Oberon. This one's going to be NP1 basically, then with one of her power mods and 2 of her power mods. And basically then demonic here in addition. So obviously damage numbers even for Murasaki, you can see probably pulling ahead for her. But a lot of this does sort of depend. And then there is also one last one here for Tai Sui, where he actually has his anti-assassin third append that any of you guys could unlock because you should have the coins. So looking at stuff like that with just double Castoria and Oberon here, his damage numbers are not too bad. Just remember these are also neutral. So basically, Ultra Ego is only getting 1.5 times the damage rather than the 2 times damage that a caster would get. Still, though, I thought it was an interesting comparison, so that's why we included it. And like I said, Alice is an interesting unit. She does a lot of stuff that we haven't really seen before, like that death immune guts, or again, her unique sort of invuln capability that she has. What do you guys think about Alice, and will you roll for her? Also, which Ascension form is going to end up being your favorite for her? And again, what do you guys think overall of the Mihoyo collab? How would you guys rate this collab in comparison to some of the others? I'll be curious to hear you guys' thoughts, and I will see you guys for the next one. Ugh. Are you my master? No. Ash, they give her the 42. Yakamo, they give her the 43. Oh. I see. Ash asked the question. Third form, best form for animations and MP. I do think there's a ton of man attribute stuff, and keeping her an earth attribute is definitely very nice for her. Is this Alice from Wonderland? Yes. No, I actually have no idea. I have no idea who this Alice is supposed to be in relation to Mihoyo versus like traditional fairy tales. I'm gonna assume it's not, because she doesn't have the fairy tale servant trait. So it's like, I don't know much about Mihoyo in that regard, but I assume that that she's not. Though I'm sure the name Alice at this point is probably a reference to it, if nothing else. Alright, chat. We got one more I gotta do. Once more. Of course they didn't update that. Why would they update? Now, the good part about this one is I don't have to start breaking down refund numbers like a madman. I don't have to do crazy stuff. But I do probably need some good recommendations for CEs for this guy. Obviously, I'm not going to be using Black Grail on him. Now, I can think of an easy one, though. It's right there. Keep the tradition. Yeah. Maybe taunt seed have more than one taunt. You're not wrong. Golden Sumo? I mean, honestly, Golden Sumo's not bad for him. There was something else I was thinking of, though. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, right. Yeah, the other Taunsi. Shit. What is the name of it? The 3-turn Taunsi with like 60% attack up. God, I can't remember it. Poster girl, thank you, chat. It's sad because I have so many of these, but like my brain just is dying at this point from reviewing too many things. Honestly, chat, like, kind of hope I don't have to review anything for a while. Like, I probably have to do like Charlie and Creamhild and like a bunch of the Traum units, but like I should have time to do that. But kind of hope to have like a little bit of a break. I think Eternal Roma isn't bad either. Wait, sorry. What do you mean Eternal Roma? Gee, I wonder why you would think that. Anyway. Yeah, it's not bad. Actually, not bad. Isn't it limited? Yeah. Necromancy is too powerful. Listen, I can't in good conscience debate someone with that, okay? Yeah, what's his third? Anti-archer. All right. Yep. Hey guys, my name's Khadroth, and today we're going to be talking to you about Constantine the 11th.
Constantine the 11th was basically the last Byzantine emperor, or the last Roman emperor, depending on how you want to think about it, and he's going to be coming up being featured basically in the Traum Singularity. We're actually getting him here for the pre-campaign for LB 6.5, so obviously people are going to have a lot of questions about him. Now, honestly, when Constantine came out on JP, there were a ton of people that just really liked him based off of his design. He was somebody that had been teased prior in the Chaldea Boys event. In fact, there were a ton of people that were angry that he wasn't the unit for the Chaldea Boys event, so they were happy just to see him come back. But the reality is, I think gameplay-wise, Constantine can be a decent unit that you can use, but honestly, I think a lot of people find him to be lacking in a couple of ways. Now, interesting to denote here, he is a limited servant, so unless you do have a banner that he's actually on, you're not going to get spooked by him. So in that regard, if you want him, you're going to have to roll for him, or try to find a way to pick him up from a GSSR or something like that. So let's go ahead and talk about what makes Constantine tick, and why, maybe I don't have the highest opinion of him, and we'll see whether or not you agree with that. So, you can see here, he starts off as a 5-star rider. He's actually going to be a buster-based rider, but his main sort of shtick is being defensive. So to start out with here, you can see in his raw stats, he's got 10.9k attack. Again, 10k attack range, not the best, and riders are typically known pretty well for their attack. So this is definitely more of a hey, he is supposed to be a defensive unit. And you can see that because they almost give him 14k HP, though honestly I think he could have a little bit more, but it is what it is. I'm going to say these stats are not going to be the things that make or break him. He is man attribute here, and you can see he's got 198 star absorption, a little bit shy of your average for the class, but nothing too much to be concerned about. He's got 0.89 star generation, again a little bit shy of the class average, but nothing really concerning there either. He does actually have 0.52 NP charge attack rate, which I'm going to say is going to be something we're going to talk about quite a bit, but it's not actually that big of a concern for him. He does have 3% NP charge defense. I actually wish this were sort of non-standard and were a bit higher, but it is what it is. He does have, unfortunately, a fairly high death rate, so be very careful about using him in death-prone fights, as this is going to be one of the easy ways to get rid of Constantine if you're facing him. And again, well, sorry, I say that. Don't take that seriously, if only because player-based death rates are never good against servants. Alignments here for him are going to be lawful and good, and he is a male-gendered unit. His traits are Hominidae Servant, Humanoid, Sovereign, or King, as I like to call it, Loved One, Riding, Roman, Servant, Seven Knights Servant, Stout Defender, and Weak to Intimate Elish. So it's interesting to denote that Constantine is maybe somebody that people would look at as the potential prototype for an additional shielder being added to the game, but Constantine may also end up being one of the better arguments against something like that, and we'll kind of point out why that is here in a second. Taking a look at his overall deck here, it is interesting to denote that he does have double buster, so with his NP he can form a triple buster brave chain, something that will at least allow him to do some decent damage, and he does have double arts and quick. The interesting thing to denote, and why I said the NP charge rate was not the biggest of concerns, because it is 0.52, but he still has a 4-hit arts card. In fact, he has 2 of them. So his actual card performance should be fairly decent for NP generation. The issue at play here is going to be having to utilize his cards and having to get back to another NP after you use the first one. So let's go ahead and take a look at the kit and see how that's going to be possible. Starts out by increasing his own NP generation rate for 1 turn by 50%. You're naturally going to want to use these on the turns that you have arts cards, because again, that will be the easiest sort of strategy for getting him there. Honestly, later on down the line with things like Mighty Chain, even having that singular quick card, this may allow him to have a little bit of an easier time with card performance and getting back to another NP. But as we already denoted, the 4-hit arts card with the 0.52 NP gain rate, adding in an additional 50% NP gain rate buff there, it's not bad. His card performance should actually be very good if you can manage to align the stars. And as you can see here, he does have a crit star bomb added to it.
This is all on a 6-turn cooldown though, so be careful because it's not the shortest of cooldowns. And realistically, I think the biggest complaint I have about this skill more than anything else is just the fact that it's only a 1-turn taunt. It might actually have been useful to him to have a multi-turn taunt in his kit, a la someone like Georgios, but it is what it is at this point. So it is an interesting thing to denote that they only went with that, but I think they were concerned about maybe making him too strong. His second skill here is the party attack up for 3 turns of 20%, so just a nice charisma to the rest of the party, and then an increase to the party's buster performance for 3 turns of an additional 20%. So this is going to help out card performance and damage output with him in the party. It's also going to increase the critical damage of Roman allies for 3 turns by up to 30%. So this is just an additional extra buff he gets if someone is Roman. The interesting thing about Constantine is that he has a couple of Roman things in his kit, but he has no way of actually turning his enemy to Roman or turning his allies to Roman. So naturally to use him, if you're not going to use him in a solo environment, you're probably going to want to combine him with somebody that actually can confer these traits, like a Boudica or like a, oh god, why can I not remember his name all of a sudden? Romulus, there we go. Like a 5-star Romulus, if you will. Somebody that can actually end up changing him. So at that point, then he could confer extra buffs to everybody else if you have the ability to sort of secure that in the party. And we're going to have a point to make about that later. This one's also going to be on a 6-turn cooldown. His third skill, though, is a rather interesting one. This is going to be a 30% charge to himself, so you're kind of going to want to lore this because you're really going to want that additional capability to get back to another NP or even just get to the first one. It's going to also increase his own critical damage for 3 turns by 30%, gain critical stars every turn for 3 turns up to 10. So again, this is in addition to the crit star bomb he had on the first skill. And then from there, it's going to grant him an on death activate buff for 3 turns that whenever he dies will charge the last allies in P gauge except himself. So what this means is in the front line of 1, 2, and 3 units, regardless of where Constantine is, it will charge the 3rd slot. Unless he is the 3rd slot, then it would only charge the 2nd slot. So that's just the way to think about it. It's going to charge the last person in the chain. That is not himself. It's kind of like inverse Qin Gong with how he gongs the first person in the party in the first slot. So that's going to be what he does. He basically charges that last person by up to 30% right there. And then he's also going to increase their critical damage basically for, the last ally's critical damage except himself for 3 turns, and then grant the last ally critical star regeneration buff except himself for 3 turns by 10. So it's in effect him transferring this skill to someone else. That is to say, he will gain the benefit until he dies. If he dies, he will give it to someone else. And it will actually refresh the durations and everything. So really kind of nice in that regard. It is on a 6-turn cooldown. Unfortunately, it's only got the 3 turns of uptime. So just be careful with how you utilize it. But it is an interesting skill, to say the least. For his passive skills here, he gets Riding B to enhance that 1 quick card's performance. Magic Resistance B to give him some just extra debuff resistance to make it so that he doesn't get debilitated all the time. Independent Action C++ that increases his critical damage by 7.2%. And now we can actually go talk about the appends. Now, I'm going to say this just flat out, that you may be interested if you're soloing with him for going for the extra attack finesse. In fact, that is probably the recommendation for what to go with, depending on how you want to use him. But I can definitely make a good case for the mana loading, because this is a unit that is really going to want to get to their NP. In fact, their survival depends on it. So as a result, having the mana loading, especially to get to that first one, may make your life easier, may make you able to start with a better craft essence. Who knows? It's just up to you to kind of determine what you want to do in that regard. His third skill is Anti-Archer Attack Damage Aptitude, and I'm going to say this is by far a worthless one for him, as he doesn't have any special niche damage or anything like that. So just ignore this one with the coins unless you're just absolutely a huge fan of Constantine and you just have a ton of coins from all the copies that you rolled. His Noble Phantasm now is basically his threefold walls, if you will. This is a support-based Noble Phantasm. So you can see it's Buster. It increases his own bust performance for 3 turns, 30% basically each time you do this, but it does scale with NP level, so this would be the reason to get more NP levels of him. I'm going to say, though, the fact that it only scales 30 to 50% means that it's not making a huge impact. It is making some impact, but ultimately it's up to you. If you can manage to loop him and keep him getting back to NPs, though, due to the 3-turn duration, this will stack, so this could be a decent reason depending on how you plan to use him. It's also then going to grant himself invincibility for 1 attack, 1 turn. Kind of annoying that it's not multi-turn duration, or that it's not like independent of other invulns and maybe would stack. So it is what it is. Just be careful with how you utilize this, and remember it is only the 1 attack. So if you're trying to, keep him alive through an enemy's noble phantasm, but there's maybe multiple enemies, just make sure that the other enemy isn't going to attack him first and then remove it and then watch him get NP'd. That being said, he will reduce the damage taken from there of all Roman allies by 5,000 for 1 turn. This is actually a very strong damage cut. And remember, he himself is Roman, so he will be the beneficiary of this, and this does mean that he will take even less damage. The problem is, remember, he's also got the invuln this turn, so he'd have to get hit multiple times for this to be the case. But it is nice, to say the least. I do wish this were, again, multi-turn duration. I just wish something in this was multi-turn duration, but it might make him too strong in that regard if they did, so that's probably what they were trying to somewhat rein in. I think out of everything, I think the damage cut having multi-turn duration wouldn't have been the most OP thing, but it is what it is, and maybe they decided against it. Still from there, you can see his overcharge effect actually is going to increase the entire party's defense for the remainder of that turn by 100%. This is kind of why I say not having the damage cut on a multi-turn basis is kind of weird. At 100% defense, unless the enemy has major steroids or something like that, you're going to take no damage. That is to say, the entire party takes no damage for the remainder of that turn. So it is a interesting issue, I would say the least. I do feel like this makes him a very tanky unit. This makes him able to protect the party at least somewhat. But it may not be enough, and the party might be able to just be hit to death or buff stripped or penetrated through, no matter how you want to look at it. It may happen regardless of him being here and doing this. And this is why some people will use him in a party comp, and other people will put him out on an island and have him solo. The benefit of having him solo is you're always going to get his cards. You're always going to have the capability of potentially getting those arts cards, getting back to another NP. And then using him in a group, you're probably going to have the protection of you actually have more offense and actually do, and are able to take advantage of his full kit. So it's up to you to determine how you want to do this. But this is, again, why I said it may be beneficial to you to have somebody who can change your allies to Roman, so that way everybody is getting affected. Or just, again, take Roman actual allies alongside him that will gain the benefit regardless. Still, his NP is a very, very defensive NP, and this to me is what something like a 5-star shielder might look like should the game ever get one. Question is, you already have Mash for free, and she's also 0 cost, so if you really want to go with someone like this over someone like Mash, I don't know. That's up to you. And I am going to say there are differences here, and the differences are substantial. But it is something to think about as to how much you need such a unit. In that regard, I can maybe liken him a little bit to someone like QSH, who does a lot of solo work himself and can keep himself alive. So talking about that, let's go ahead and talk about potential CE uses for him. I think something like Eternal Roma is actually going to be fairly decent for him, at least getting him started, keeping him protected until he can get to that first NP. Ironically enough, it does feature him, but this is a basically limited craft essence from the, I guess you can't call it the Gouda event. It was actually the White Day event that JP had now, going back over a year. So this one will be coming up to NA next year when we get it. And this one is going to be 2 attacks and basically at MLB 400 damage cut. So not terrible in terms of just making him take less damage over time. For the more permanent version that's always been around, we have Volumen. Velamin has basically given you 3-hit invincibility and essentially damage up of 500. It's just a flat damage added. It does give all HP scaling. The only issue with something like this is going to be, again, that it's only going to protect you for those opening phases, so it's not going to be the best. In all honesty, what I probably would try to do is slap some healing command codes on him and use something like Maiden Halloween instead. That way, you already know he's going to be defensive, so your goal is going to be to try to have him kind of out-heal the enemy's damage capability and just watch as he becomes nigh unkillable. He won't be completely unkillable, but he will make it very difficult, especially if you time his NP at the right moments, for the AI to actually get anything done against him. Again, there is something like Kaleidoscope for just having him there and getting him to the NP right away. I'm not going to say this is the best application of him, though, because if you really desperately needed something like this, you might have been better off choosing something else to maybe help you invalidate while turning out more offense. But it is what it is. Who knows? There may be a scenario where you actually use this. We did talk about his taunt only being 1 turn, so having something like Guda Guda Poster Girl, which can increase attack up to 80% for 3 turns, and also give him a 3-turn taunt might actually help him keep the focus off of the enemies, off of your allies, and then instead more on him. That's up to you. Guda Guda Poster Girl, though, is one of the rare taunt Cs in the game, and it's hard to get your hands on. To some degree, it might be the best taunt C, and to other degree, it might be the worst, because it actually has HP scaling, which is, depending on what you're trying to do for taunting and maybe like min-maxing things, could be good or bad. Still, if you do need a taunt C and you have no access to something like this, there is always Outrage. This can actually be purchased on the 2019 Chaldea Boys collection. You will see it does say down here 2017. That is the date for JP. For NA, it would be the 2019 Chaldea Boys collection, but either way, you can go in and unlock it with 3 rare prisms. I actually have a video on this, which is really funny because I now see that now after making the video that fandom has added that blurb in there. But this one is kind of the only permanently available taunt C out there. So this is a little bit of a trick of the trade for you guys. And this one does actually give increased NP generation rate, but it's unfortunately only 1 turn of taunt, so it's only going to help you on that very first turn. Honestly, something power moddy and invuln piercy like Honey Lake could also be really good for him. You could slap on some burn command codes, have him actually do a little bit more carding damage, and have him get there. Or maybe even just something like Golden Sumo, basically allowing you to start out at 50% charge, but then just giving him attack up to help his carding out overall. And I did want to bring special mention that if you are having Roman allies or people that can change the party into Roman, maybe having something like Romance in the Spear equipped to one of them might help, because again, you know, if you're taking someone like Carinus, basically Romulus's 5-star form, he can imply Roman extra damage basically on enemies, so having something to actually change them to Roman isn't the worst thing in the world. But either way, let me know what you guys think about Constantine. I do think he's a very interesting unit, but he is the epitome of sort of a luxury unit. You definitely don't have to have him, but he could be a fun unit to use in the right circumstances. I'll be curious to hear you guys' thoughts on him. Let me know more in the comments below, and I will see you guys for the next video. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about Constantine. He is really, like I said there, the epitome of a unit you don't have to have, like, at all. But he can be fun, and if you really like his design, there's no reason you can't use him. So it's like, I'm not going to recommend anybody roll him. But it's not me saying don't roll him either. I'm just not going to, like, pressure any of you guys to do that. But you guys know I don't normally do that anyways. So, don't really need tanks in FGO. I wouldn't say that. You do need tanks in FGO. It's just that you kind of have tanks in FGO. They're very easily acquirable units over time. I think they're something that a lot of people just really don't either utilize properly or understand kind of how to do it. But they're certainly a nice unit to have. Golden Sumo's the carp. He disgusts me. Wait, why does he disgust you? Is it because he's so handsome? Is that the issue here? Would Victor of the Moon be good on him? Yeah. Yeah, I actually was thinking about that. I probably should have included it while I was going through there because I was like, I don't really have anything for just raw carding power. But yeah, no, it wouldn't be bad. Victor of the Moon's also really nice because it scales to 2400. So if you actually manage to have MLB of it, it's a very good crit C. But no, I think like your biggest issue with him is going to be this like, do I do more card damage or do I get to an NP and not die? So it's like that's going to be the big like, what do I do, right? Whenever you're utilizing him. But no, I am looking forward to Traum. I'm happy to finally see it come to NA because it should answer a lot of NA's story questions, at least from what I've been told. I'm super stoked for Traum. Yeah. Like I said, I'm ecstatic for it. So when are we gonna learn who is Victor and why is he on the moon? I don't know. It's probably like well no, I can't even make the joke about the other C. It's another ending as the other C. We get OG Frankenstein? Yeah. Chat. I was gonna stream Manor Lords for you guys, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually having a really bad headache right now. I think it's just straight up like I don't know. I couldn't tell you why. I've been having it basically since the beginning of stream, and it's only getting worse. So I'm getting the feeling I need to like decompress and get away from the monitors. So we're probably gonna end it here. I would like to show you guys Manor Lords. Maybe I can find the time at some point. Very interesting game. I will say this though. I like Manor Lords. It's really good, but it's not in the best state as of early access launch. It has amazing potential, but the developer, because it's a single guy doing it, but the developer's got to change how the AI functions in it. So I really wanted to show it to you guys, but no, we'll probably end here. Had Villa's your friend, yeah. Let me see if somebody's on that I can give some love to. See Mr. Chaldea Gurus, he's playing some Fortnite. Let me send you guys over his way. And like I said, I will be back tomorrow. So again, thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for watching. I'll try to get these videos out tomorrow. And hopefully I can. But do me a favor and give them a watch. Help the view numbers. And again, go give Mr. Chaldea Gurus my love. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Later.